I've covered 2 of the 3 protagonists in Shameless Purple Haze, and while I plan to do a video for Sheila E. in the future, I thought it'd be good to give the antagonist some spotlight as well. Though, funny enough, the person I'll be covering today might not actually need as much attention as I might be thinking, cause he somehow replaced any information about the man he's named after, making research a much more difficult task than it usually is. I am of course talking about the proud Sicilian, Vladimir Kokaki, and his stand, Rainy Days Dream Away. Vladimir Kokaki feels right at home not only in all of JoJo, but in the specific setting of Part 5, given his close connection between him, his story, his stand, and of course, his fate. Though to understand this more, we might want to look more closely into the meaning behind his name and his backstory. Vladimir Kokaki gets his name directly from an Albanian cellist of the exact same name. Now, really, the connection between Vladimir and the cellist is very limited. As you see, they're both men who moved from their home countries to Italy to find new fortune and fame. They both had sisters. And lastly, the most important detail is that the cellist, being Albanian, actually matters because Albanian culture is founded strongly ingrained into Sicilian culture, which Vladimir is very passionate about being a Sicilian man. And it's been there since the 1490s. This is important because the cultural mixing allowed Slavic names to become more commonplace in Sicily, so Vladimir gets his Slavic name from his Albanian ancestors. And if you look closely at what does the name Vladimir mean, it means universal ruler, though that is a more modern interpretation of the name Vladimir, as in the 1920s it was etymologically changed to mean owner of the world, when it originally meant great power, as Vladi and Mir combined together, Vladi being power and Mir being great, meant great power. Which, if you understand Vladimir's placement in Passion, as in he runs the drug trade, aka the business that allowed Passion to become as powerful as it is, and if you know his ability, it's a very fitting name. Now, despite his placement as the leader of one of the most dangerous groups in Passion, he appears to be one of the kindest and gentlest among his team, given his elderly and peaceful demeanor. Yet, he is one of the more deeply broken of all of the narcotics team. This is due to one specific moment in his past, this being known as Operation Husky, which is also known as the Allied invasion of Sicily in 1943. During this period of time, Vladimir was 12 to 13 years old when the Allied forces began to invade Sicily, which was under control by the Nazis. The Nazis gave up the island pretty quickly, not intending to actually fight for it, but as the Nazis began to retreat, they kicked in the doors of any villagers that they expected to be spies. Vladimir's family was one of these unfortunate groups of people, and he witnessed as his mother and father were gunned down by the Nazis, and then afterwards found himself dipping and dodging through bullets as he fled with his sister Amelia on his back. Little did he know that while he fled, his sister was grazed with a bullet. When he finally stopped out of sight of the Nazis, he learned of his sister's state. She was a goner if she didn't get any medical attention soon, though no one was in sight, and as he panicked to keep her alive, she started to hallucinate from shock and blood loss. She imagined that Vladimir and her both escaped ungrazed. She couldn't see, but in those moments of hallucinogenic bliss, the area around the two began to rain, as Vladimir unlocked his stand out of desperation to allow her to pass away without suffering. Thanks to his ability, she was able to live a full life in her own imagination, in the minutes that passed before she herself passed as well.
That's when my stand first appeared. I was able to lock her delusion in place, ensure it never ended. She escaped into that hallucinatory future, lived to grow up and grow old, surrounded by grandchildren. The illusion never ended.
And then, after about an hour, the Allied forces finally found the two, but it was too late for her. This event mixed with Vladimir's Sicilian pride caused him to find what he considered inner peace. Some people might describe it as achieving nirvana in a way. As he accepts that life is nothing but suffering and unfair, Vladimir now truly lives a life without guilt or concern for his actions. This is what makes him as deadly as he is. He doesn't believe what he's doing is right or wrong. He just believes that fate decides everything in this world and that he is just going with the flow. But he does hate those who try to control their fate through things like trickery or power, given his intent to kill Marolo out of all of the people in the group of people trying to assassinate him, as he was willing to let Fugo and Sheila E. go. Vladimir is a man so powerful that even Diavolo feared him enough to only strike a simple deal with him and not attempt to keep him in line through intimidation like he did with the rest of his subordinates with his stand, King Crimson. This is because even Diavolo knew he might not stand a chance against Vladimir's stand, because even the boss knows to fear a rainy day. Rainy Day's Dream Away is probably one of the most powerful stands in the whole of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. A lot of its power lies in the stealthiness of its use, as it takes the form of a light rainstorm. The only difference is that if you were to closely examine the raindrops, you would notice that they all have ghoulish faces. This face expresses the sorrow Vladimir felt the day he unlocked his stand. Now, much like other characters who experience horribly traumatic events during their young ages, I feel that Rainy Day's Dream Away is a colony stand, if not the largest colony stand out there, given that each individual drop is a being that causes the ability to take into effect. And if each of those droplets are its own stand being, how many stand beings does Vladimir have control of? Well, Rainy Day's Dream Away is described as a light rain, and a light rain measures in to be about 1/10 of an inch of rain. And if this happens over 5.19 square miles, which is the entirety of Tormani, Sicily, which the fight takes place in, that means it would be roughly 8,892,800 gallons of water. Now let's divide those gallons into drops. You see, there are 90,921.8 drops in a gallon. So that means in a normal light rain, Vladimir is in control of 804,285,158,620 droplet stands at one time.
Quick math.
Meaning that his soul is shredded beyond repair, which kind of fits into his enlightened-esque approach to life. And its stats are E in destructive power, B in speed, A in range, A in durability, E in precision, E in developmental potential. And the ability of Rainy Day's Dream Away is called emotional locking. In basic, when someone has a thought after being caught in the downpour that is Rainy Day's Dream Away, even if it's only for a moment, Vladimir can lock that feeling or emotion and cause that target to feel that feeling or emotion for as long as he wants. Examples are when he locks Fugo's unbalanced feeling from when he misstepped on the stairs ascending towards Vladimir, making it impossible for Fugo to find his footing, or when Vladimir locks Sheila E's thoughts of not being able to defeat Vladimir and makes her unable to hit him. The only way to overpower Rainy Day's Dream Away's ability is to counteract the sensation that you're feeling with a much more extreme sensation, as Fugo is only able to overpower Rainy Day's Dream Away when he uses Purple Haze to fling himself into the air, counteracting his unbalanced sensation with the sensation of a free fall. Now, Rainy Day's Dream Away gets its name from the Jimi Hendrix song of the same name, which was created by Jimi Hendrix during the second half of the Miami Pop Festival in 1968. The reason being that during the second day, Hendrix and his band were supposed to perform, but it got rained out. The song itself speaks of trying to make the best of a rainy day, which metaphorically means a terrible situation, as rainy day is one of the oldest metaphors out there. Though, the tone of the song was really interesting to learn about, as Mike Finnegan, a man who toured with Jimi Hendrix and helped craft the song, describes the jam session as very loose, with the first half of the song being a mellow beat, and then the second half is when they got more insane with it.
If he had a lyric, I didn't know about it. You know, if he had like a form, he kept it to himself, because as I said, it was like a very loose construction. The first half was like mellow, and the second half was insane.
This plays into Vladimir as a character, as on the surface level, both of them are very mellow and calm, almost peaceful. But once you dig deeper into them, the song and the person's insanity comes out full force. Finnegan also describes in the song crafting that they listened to some of the ugliest sounding beats and tried to make them work.
Something like that. I think we were playing like the ugliest thing we could find.
Which plays into how Vladimir unlocks his stand through one of his ugliest experiences, the loss of his sister to a stray bullet in a war he wanted nothing to do with. Also, it's very fitting that the lyrics to the song play into Vladimir's first use of his power. As I said, they describe the song as making the best of a bad situation. Vladimir, when he first uses his power, is able to save his sister from suffering turning her blood-deprived hallucinations into her own personal lifelong fantasy. He made the best out of the worst of situations. This becomes especially clear when you examine the final lyrics of Rainy Day Dream Away, which plays deeply into Amelia's fate and Vladimir's philosophy on life as it goes. Just let it groove its own way. Let it drain your worries away. Lay back and groove on a rainy day. Lay back and dream on a rainy day. Just lay back and let life take its course. This is the life lesson Vladimir takes away from the loss of his sister. And he also allows his sister to dream away on this horrible rainy day. Now, if you enjoyed this video and want to help support more videos like it, I have a Patreon over at patreon.com/MetiNotTheBadGuy. And I'd appreciate it very much if you head on over there and give me some money. If you can, that's fine. Now, if you want to feel the same beautiful, lifelong experience that Amelia did, then you don't even need to wait for a rainy day. All you need to do is head on over to Funimation.com/show/Shimonetta, boring word where the concept of dirty jokes doesn't exist, and purchase yourself a copy. You don't even need to go to Funimation. You can just go to Amazon. It's on Amazon. It's like $40. I mean, if you want to get the special, it's like $60. But it's still, that's a lot. It's a lifelong, it's beauty. It's beauty. Buy the fucking DVD.